A member of Kol Sasson, Rabbi Lynne Goldsmith, to teach us a little bit. I think you're going to talk about music, yeah? Surprise, surprise. Come talk with us. Perfect.
Technology is a mixed blessing. You never know when it's going to work and when it's not. Anyway, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Last summer, I was working with a little girl who was preparing for her bat mitzvah. And one of the requirements was that she had to do an independent study on a Jewish subject that interested her. And she chose to do Why So Many Jews Write Christmas Songs. Now, most of us know that White Christmas was written by Irving Berlin and is one of the best-selling songs of all times. But did you know that Winter Wonderland, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, Sleigh Ride, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and Santa Claus is Coming to Town were all written by Jews? Now, I didn't know that either. When I mentioned these titles to my rather cynical son, he said, "Mom, why couldn't they have written songs like this for the Jews? White Christmas is great, and we end up with dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. You know, somehow this just doesn't seem right." Well, this Shabbat, as Holly's already told us, is called Shabbat Shirah, or Shabbat, Sabbath of Song, because this week's Torah portion includes a poem that we call the Song of the Sea. That's the triumphant song that was allegedly sung by the children of Israel after they successfully crossed the Sea of Reeds and escaped Pharaoh and his chariots. So it seems only appropriate to discuss Jewish music. Now, many people, like my son, do not think that Jewish music measures up. But I don't agree. Just because our music is not as well known doesn't mean that it's deficient when we compare it to other music. And we have some absolutely gorgeous music. One of our lesser-known musicians, his name is Solomon Rossi. He lived in the 16th and 17th century, and he was an Italian Renaissance composer. He was the first one to compose Jewish music, or Jewish liturgy, after a friend of his, who was a rabbi, issued a rabbinic responsa permitting choral music in a synagogue setting. And I'm glad he did, because we couldn't sing here today if it hadn't been for him. But listen to his rendition of Adon Olam. That's not working. So how many of you are hearing that for the first time? It's beautiful, right? It is absolutely gorgeous, but we haven't really heard a whole lot of Solomon Rossi. If we move forward several centuries to the 20th century, we meet Ernest Bloch, whose best-known work is Avodah HaKodesh, or the Sacred Service. Bloch was born in Switzerland in 1880, but he immigrated to the United States and became a U.S. citizen in the 1920s. He's known not just for his Jewish compositions, but also for other classical compositions. The Sacred Service was composed in the early 1930s as a commission for Temple Emmanuel in San Francisco. It remains one of his best-known works. So listen to his setting of Yehiyu Liratzon. And I'm sure you've heard Holly sing that quite a bit. Damn. Yeah. piece of music, but so few of us have actually heard it. As we Jews moved away from non-participatory choral music that everybody loved to listen to into more participatory music, more music that we could sing, the camp movement in the 1970s was a major influence. Debbie Friedman is credited with creating a whole new genre of contemporary, accessible music, and much of her early music was composed when she was a song leader at a URJ camp. It's difficult for me to imagine services before we sang her renditions of Mishy Bayrak, Miriam's song, or the setting that we usually use for Havdalah. Rabbi Eric Yaffe, who was the former president of the URJ, said of Debbie Friedman, "American Jews had forgotten how to sing. Debbie taught us how to sing again." One of my favorite Debbie Friedman songs is not one we hear very often, and is not so much a participatory song. It is her setting of Psalm 23. For me, she captures that peaceful feeling and the comfort that that psalm conveys. And I'll play a little of it. Surprisingly enough, this was sung by I couldn't find a Jewish group singing it, but I found a really nice Christian group. But that's the last one, I promise. Holly has been absolutely wonderful at introducing contemporary melodies and some of the best contemporary composers. Tonight, we sang Rick Rex, Baruch Hu, Josh Warshawski's Emet, and one of my favorite contemporary composers, Danny Nichols. We used two of his songs, Eternity Utters a Day, and we will sing It's Up to Us in Aleinu. Now, this is a really quick overview of Jewish music yesterday and today. I didn't even talk about Israeli music, klezmer music, Hasidic melodies, or even some of the ethnic music that is also credited as being part of the Jewish music genre. So I will say to my son, as I did, and I will say to you, that Jewish music is so much more than dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. And I will encourage all of you to explore Jewish music further. There's a load of it on YouTube, as I found out. I want to end with a quote by one of my favorite rabbis, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. And he said, "There is something about music that intimates a reality beyond our grasp. Words are the language of the mind. Music is the language of the soul. Music is the map of the Jewish spirit, and each spiritual experience has its own distinctive melodic tonality. The Torah is God's libretto, and we, the Jewish people, are the choir, the performers of the choral symphony. And though when Jews speak, they often argue, when they sing in harmony, as the Israelites did at the Red Sea, because music is the language of the soul. The Torah is God's song, and we, collectively, are its singers." Shabbat Shalom.